What's up?
I've been seeing these videos, all based off this old horror movie called Faces of Death. Do you think this could be real executions?
Leave it up. Support the trend.
Let's go. I love this movie.
Thank you.
It's fun. So I guess to start the things off, like I watched Faces of Death for the first time like 3 days ago, and then I watched this. So at like what point where you're like, yeah, we're gonna do this?
Basically when we first watched the movie and realized that we had seen parts and pieces of it online over the years and that they were all coming from this same source. And that for us was kind of like the thing where we were like, oh, this is kind of exactly what we want to talk about, actually. Where is Faces of Death in 2026? It is on the internet. I mean, at the time it was 2019, but you know.
Yes. I mean, it was still kind of like the same.
I mean, are we just stuck in a time vortex? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we are. And one of the things I love so much about the movie is that, you know, when you watch Faces of Death, it's like this gritty 70s, like grainy. It just feels like icky, but this is so stylized. It is very modern. It is very clean. And I'm curious, I guess this would be for Daniel, where that kind of came in for you to do completely the opposite.
Well, I think for me, it wasn't necessarily the opposite. I think it was like, I was very inspired by, like, I thought of making the movie as kind of like a De Palma-esque like style exercise from a directorial standpoint. So looking at movies like Blowout or, Targets was a huge inspiration, but ultimately wanting it to kind of function as like a modern, big theatrical piece of entertainment, and wanting it to feel like a premium experience, like a ride that audiences could go on, but that ultimately would incorporate all of the textures and all of the details of, everything from the VHS tape grain to, social media, noise to ultimately like the grain of we shot on 35 millimeters. So there is still kind of ultimately a texture to the movie that I think is intended to be a throwback to the original, but we also want something that works for contemporary audiences and that feels like a contemporary horror ride.
Absolutely. And in writing this, Isa, how deep down the Reddit rabbit hole did you go, or it could be for both of you, in doing the research for this?
I mean, I'm already deep in the Reddit rabbit hole. This was never like out of my wheelhouse. Like all of Margot's weird like cyber stalking, like I know how to do, like that's the shit I know how to do. I think I was like a weird kid on the internet growing up, learning how to track people's IP addresses and how to like code a little web page. And I think like I've always been fascinated with the internet and internet culture. And so kind of to me, it wasn't really outside of my wheelhouse to kind of dig into any of this material.
Oh my God, that's so scary. I don't think I could do it. Did you have to go down a rabbit hole as well, Daniel?
No, similarly, I grew up on the internet and I don't know, like I was in college in Boston when like the Boston bombing happened, right?
I'm from Boston.
And like the whole city shut down and, I spent 36 hours on Reddit being like, I'm going to catch the killer. So it's like I think we've all had that kind of experience. And I think that like, that's the thing is that, if you poked around the internet long enough, then I think that most of the things that happen in this movie just feel like personally familiar. And that's the thing that's scary about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I thought Barbie and Dacre were fantastic, especially as these opposing characters. Can you kind of talk about bringing them on and preparing them for this? Because I told Isa yesterday, I was like, it reminded me like Ray Fiennes from Red Dragon, like hung out with Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs. And then we brought in Patrick Bateman to like woo the women.
I think for both of them, it was all about finding their own personal connection to the material and to these characters. And, for Barbie, I think it was that she also grew up online like us. She, spent a lot of time on dark corners of the internet. And also, I think as somebody who has had to kind of suffer at the hands of some of the worst things that the internet has to offer. And that initially was, I think, something that, I knew that she had as a connection to this character, and kind of both sides of Margot, both the content moderation, the watching aspect, and the kind of, having had her identity ripped away from her aspect. And then when it comes to Dacre, I think, immediately when we met, he talked to me about the fact that, like, he has very severe OCD, and he has an obsession with texture, and he had to sleep on top of his bed sheets for 10 years because if he was under his bed sheets and there was even the smallest crease in the sheet, he wouldn't be able to fall asleep. And so he was like, because of this, I feel like I kind of understand Arthur to an extent. And so, both that and alienation that both he and I dealt with growing up, and desire to connect with people through making films and making work. I think it was about finding the relatable things underneath Arthur that are obviously translated through the, character of a total psychopathic serial killer.
They're always in like suburban neighborhoods working in like tech, and you're like, oh yeah, well, that tracks. And what do you both ultimately want people leaving the theater to have experienced after seeing this?
I think for us, it's important that people kind of feel the recontextualization of some of this imagery, right? I think we're so used to seeing it on our phones now and on the internet, and by kind of pulling some of it, like real footage, real deaths that we're putting on screen for you, the hope is that you're kind of going to walk out of the theater having it recontextualized and kind of have a finger pointed at it and ask, like, why is this happening? And I don't think it's our fault that we engage with this content. I think the algorithm is designed to hook us and keep us engaged in the platform. And it has found that what keeps us engaged in the platform is things that are violent, things that make us angry, things that make us hate each other. And so, I think that if anything, it's kind of pointing a finger at that and asking, like, why are we still putting up with this?
So I'm actually somebody who never looked in the dark corners of the internet. So this has been a very interesting experience for me because I never knew how to do that. So it's like, oh, okay, now I've seen Faces of Death and I didn't have to go to the dark corners of the internet. They have found me. Thank you both so much. As you know, I love everything you guys do. It's such a pleasure and honor to speak with you. And congratulations on the film.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Of course, have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching, and thank you to our sponsors and Patreon producers for making this video possible. Hit the subscribe button so the creepy fun never has to end. This is Hannah reminding you to keep it creepy.